Y'all, our ElkBros Mailbox is about to overflow with questions. So tonight, we're going to take a quick break from our ElkBros preseason guide and make tonight's show all about answering questions from you, our grinders. Now, don't worry, we'll be right back next week with our preseason series. But trust us when we say these are some questions you won't want to miss. Check out a list of tonight's topics: night prospecting for bugles, thermals and wind effects, elk decoys, their use and how we set them up, judging responses and making decisions, elk and blowdowns, can it ever be too much, hearing difficulties, wolves and thick timber, and the hard decisions about a hunting partner. Those Elk Bros topics, along with our Elk Bros shout outs. So my friends, pull up a chair, adjust your volumes just right, and welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunting.
Welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunting, brought to you by ElkBros.com, with your hosts Gilbert Ornelas and elk hunting coach Joe Giglia. You want to hunt elk? They live to hunt elk. Their goal is to share with you what they have learned grinding it out for over 35 seasons, doing what they love. So come on into camp and set a spell. Welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunters.
Hello there, everyone. If it's your first time with us, glad to have you. Hope you enjoy the show. And as always, for our blue collar hunters following our show and grinding it out with us every week, welcome back to Elk Camp. I'm Gilbert Ornelas, the host of your show, coming to you from Spring, Texas, and from Katy, Texas, in the Dallas DFW area. That's right, we got the Venezuelan Mafia in the house, Mr. Luis Gonzalez and Manuel Grateron. And from Cimarron, New Mexico, our elk hunting coaches are in the house. Leroy the Ninja Chavez and Joe Giglia is in the house. What's going on, fellas?
Man, talk about being politically proper on that introduction, man. What the heck?
I can't ever win, man.
Well, man, you know, it's just like
introduction.
You know, it's just like Beto. That's not you, bro. I mean, you're usually just up front to what you believe and what's right, man. What the heck?
Dude, I laid it down this evening, just like I said.
None of the Joe Giglia,
Joe's not having it, dude.
Stuff, right?
He not liking it, dude. I can tell you. Every time I do it, he tries to cut me off. So I took the hint. And probably hits the floor anyway. So
Hey, look, man, look what I'm displaying tonight, bro.
What you got? He got him a new T-shirt, man.
Oh,
Dude.
He got the horn in his back.
You have yours on too, don't you, man? Show them how that works. Look at that.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could turn around.
Look at that,
there you go. Of course you can. Look at that. Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, Chav.
Got the Elk Bro swag.
That's right. Somebody got the memo.
Cha-ching.
I'm representing the NM here, man.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah, you guys are all good, man. That's awesome. Yeah, so Gilbert talking about the old WW thing, man. I keep getting emails and stuff with all kinds of comments on that.
What would Joe Giglia do?
I think he said enough times it got stuck out there a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I'll bring it back. Don't worry. I'll bring it back.
It'll come out just at the right moment.
Speaking
Exactly.
of our listening audience, man, listen, audience, listeners, grinders, I'm talking to you directly. We are talking to you directly right now because I found an interesting fact today that really felt special. And I don't know if you guys know this, but, you know, we're always asking people to give us ratings and asking them to give us a review, right? So I kind of took a look to see, you know, what is it? Like, you can go on and you can click on a star to give people ratings, but you got to take time to type in a review to do that. And so I kind of took a look and I went out to find out what the average was of percentages that people put actual reviews to ratings. And I went out there and I looked at 10 of the top, what I consider the bomb podcasts out there, really, really popular podcasts. And I looked at their percentages of ratings versus the number of reviews. And most of those podcasts out there, when I did all those together, the average percentage came out to 16%. In other words, for every 100, people give 16 reviews,
16,
right?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that means that people had to take time, that they had to feel that it was something special to be able to do that. And it doesn't say whether the reviews are good or bad reviews. It just
Right. Just that it is a review. Yeah.
So I took a look at our reviews to our ratings. And first of all, I got to thank everybody because every single one of our ratings are 5-star except for 2. And like I said, that's my sister and probably my wife.
Yeah.
And then with the average being 16%, our percentage of reviews to ratings is 52%.
Wow.
Oh, that's huge.
That's awesome, brother.
That's impressive. And so appreciative of people actually taking the time to give us good feedback.
Absolutely, man. And there's been so many kind things said. And look, we just asked for you to give us a review. I mean, if you think there's something we need to work on, as Gilbert said, don't be mean, but let us know. But I just want to thank all of our listeners because this is about them. And when people say and send us things and say how much they're appreciative, it's that value. It's the fact that we know that what we're doing has value to you guys out there that really rings our bell and makes us feel that what we're doing is something that is helping people out there.
Yeah, it's fulfilling for sure.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely is. So we've got a lot of stuff tonight.
Lots to cover.
Yeah, anybody got any special news out there? Or are we going to move on?
Oh,
Sounds
Manano.
good,
I just want everybody to know that Manano just invested about $1,000 in microphone and cameras, and I think he's probably gonna have to send all that back because he did not take the advice from the pros, and he's not wanting to copy my perfectly fine microphone and my earset and my camera.
The intent.
So
you can be my cameraman with that thing anytime, brother.
Yeah.
I'll put you in my hip pocket, babe.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah,
I will.
Well, I'm sorry, we couldn't hear you very well. What did you say?
Yeah, I had him in my hip pocket this year. He did pretty good. So
Do you have your AirPods on as well?
Yes.
Yeah, man.
Are you using the AirPods and not the microphone that you bought?
No. I'm using my AirPods as the output, but I'm using my microphone really close if you can hear me.
Yeah. Fellas, as you can see, these guys are in rare form tonight. But guys, you know what time it is. It's time. Shout outs. If you're new to our show, this is just a shout out to a few cities with the most listeners topping our charts this week.
And we're going to start out with those reviews on Apple Podcasts. Thank you very much. The New Mexico Elk Nut, Eric Aragon from Las Cruces.
Yes, sir.
Paul Perky from Loveland, Colorado, and Mike Wilson from Ogden, Utah. Guys, thank you so much for your reviews. And
Absolutely.
guess what, y'all? We've got some video shout outs. So
all right, man.
Let's do us a video shout out.
Morning, Mike Bozarth here. No, it's not Texas. It's Fayette, Idaho. Want to give a warm ElkBros shout out. The home of Brisket and old T-Bones. He's way down there. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for you. I love your content.
Hi, y'all. My name is Aaron Augustinelli, and I live in Hayden, Idaho, with my wife and 3 adorable children. Fun fact about Hayden that I just learned today was that in the late 1870s, the village received its name from a man named Matthew Hayden, a soldier from Fort Sherman who won the right to name the lake and therefore the city by winning a card game of 7-Up against fellow soldiers John Hager and John Hickey and some other homesteaders. Personally, I'm just glad that Mr. Hickey didn't win. Anyways, today's shout out is for Manano. Manano, I just want to tell you that voice calling for elk is not a fantasy, no matter what the other guys on the show tell you. Case in point, I've been doing it since I was 12 years old. No reed in the mouth, just the bugle tube, flexible. I like doing it.
Pretty good.
Pretty solid, man.
Big shout out for banana.
Yeah.
Get
And-
that, Luis. Get
No,
that.
I get it,
brother.
man. And you know what? The most beautiful part about this is that now that you know how to call, you can hunt on your own this year, and I'll just go with Joe.
No,
And then you
I'll
can
go
just
with
call-
Joe anyway. I'll go with Joe anyway, but I'm gonna be able
I don't
to call
know.
the bull
I do not
without any
understand how
diaphragm.
you guys just get Joe dibs. I mean, what's
Yeah.
up with that, dude?
Hey, man.
Y'all done learned how to call and everything. I think I'm gonna go hunt with Joe first out.
You know, it's not my decision, Beto. It's Joe's decision.
Oh, I follow you now. It's Joe's decision.
Yeah.
I bet you I can influence that.
And you know me, man. I just follow orders. You know, so
Exactly.
it's
We're gonna march to the same drummer, boy.
that's right.
You know, I thought it was hilarious when he says, you know, I'm just glad Mr. Hickey didn't, because they're telling
Yeah, that'd have been a horrible hickey lake.
Great shout out. Thank you very much, brother. Appreciate it.
That's actually pretty impressive how he can make those sounds, man. I was
Yeah.
like, well, I don't know that I can.
Yeah,
Pretty
know,
awesome.
he's a
sounds like that,
master.
man.
if I did
He's a
that, I'd
master.
be talking for a week the way he was sucking,
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah,
you know. His-
I'm gonna start
he's a
trying.
master.
And remember, guys, if you want to be a part of our special video shout outs, just get yourself a 10 to 15-second video of yourself in landscape view. Tell us your name, where you're from, include a home of whatever line or something special about your hometown. And then you're going to send the video to us either as a message on our ElkBros Instagram, or you can do it just like Aaron did. He emailed me that he had a video at joe@elkbros.com. I sent him a link to my Google Drive, and he dropped it right in, and we're good to go. Okay, so
Don't forget to say hello, Manano. This is for you, brother. You can call it bull without diaphragm.
So sad. This is
Joe,
so sad. Joe.
it's so cool getting emails and shout outs from guys that are, that listen to the show. I'm sitting here right now, and this guy won't even know this unless he listens to the show
Right.
next week. But a guy named Adam Messner just emailed me and texted me, and he said, your podcast openings are so fun, guys. Super likable, energetic, and engaging. Love y'all's energy. Keep it coming. Best, Adam. Adam, we appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
And I just got it. You just blew me up right here on the Elk Bros podcast. And so I wanted to get a shout out to Mr. Adam. Thank you for all that, brother.
yeah, and Adam and the other guys, man, all of our crew out there that are on our base camp,
Yeah.
base camp subscription. I've been dropping new content into the calling section on painting with your elk calls as well. Check some of that content out. There's some pretty cool stuff going on there that I think you guys will really appreciate, give you a good view of everything. So let's rock with the rest of these, man.
Absolutely. All right, guys, let's get it started off. Looks like I'm first up. So let's see how long it takes for our Idaho listeners to figure out this week's top listening city. It's located in northwest Idaho and is known for its water sports on the lake named for the city. It's also known for the trails and in the Canfield Mountain Natural Area in the local national forest. In French, the first part of the city's names means the heart, and the second part means awl, which is a sharp pointed tool used to pierce leather. And if you ask anyone that lives there, it's known as the playground of the Pacific Northwest. And if you're from Idaho, you've already guessed it, in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Coeur d'Alene,
Coeur d'Alene,
Over
Idaho.
the lane.
Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
All right. I got a tricky one today, but
Luis, I just got a text from Chad Hashin today who sent, that he has, he was the first one to get, the swag, the new T-shirt.
what?
Yeah. He was like,
Heck, man.
Luis is slow. He's no longer backing you guys.
Chad, what the heck, bro? I thought we were cool, man. What's up with that, man?
and he gave me some news. He was like, "I'm moving again." I was like, "Yeah, what? Where?" And he says, "Heading to Idaho."
Wow. Where's he living now?
South Dakota.
Oh, wow.
You know,
Cool.
his
He can be
life
closer to the
on
elk.
according to his hunting adventures, and he's like, "I'm so into elk now, man. I had to move to an elk state," and he's heading to Idaho. And in Idaho, if you're a resident there, you can hunt every year. So
That's cool, man.
yeah, it's awesome, man. So
All the best on your move, man. Good luck on the hunting. Keep us posted.
Yes.
Yep.
Find us a place to come hunt up there, man. We'll come up there, shoot us some really good video.
Yeah, definitely. We won't be inviting Manano then, but so here's for our Oregon faithful. Our next stop city is located 11 miles west of Portland, Oregon, in the Tualatin Valley. It's the home for the world headquarters of Nike. The Atfalati tribe and the Kalapuya people inhabited this area before settlers moved in. The native word Chakaipi meant place of the beaver. In fact, the early settlers called it Beaver Dam. Well, Oregonians, any idea? We're talking about Beavertown, Oregon.
Beaverton, Oregon.
Beaverton, Oregon.
Beaverton.
You did the amazing with that, because I was like, I have no clue how to say all those things. The only word I knew there was Nike.
I just acted like I knew what I was pronouncing, Joe. I probably completely butchered them, and
No, you did good,
I just made it look easy, right?
Good.
Look, y'all, we never said that we were real good at all of this. But if we mess up a name, just a disclaimer, we're trying our best. And
That's right.
and you can. Oh, actually, I actually had a listener send me a correction on what I've been saying is Williamette over there on the West Coast. And oh man, I'm trying to see how it's like,
Willamette.
What's that?
It's not William, it's Willamette.
Yeah, well, and he kind of said it more like how you Willamette. It was like
Willamette? Huh.
kind of like somebody saying, dang it, Willamette.
Damn it.
Yeah, it's not a William. You're right, Chav. Yeah, thank Tracy for setting me straight. Up next, this top listening city is the capital of the state of Illinois. The most famous historic resident was Abraham Lincoln. So the area is just plumb chock full with museums honoring the 16th president of the United States. This is also the home of the mighty Horseshoe Burger. Y'all, Horseshoe Burger is double meat on a piece of toast smothered with French fries and cheese sauce.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh my God, that made me so hungry.
So good.
Oh,
Hey, we're going to have that on Elk Bros menu coming up for Elk Camp.
man.
We're going to have the big mighty horseshoe burger, Manano.
Oh,
I'll bring the meat.
so
Man.
some folks claim that this city is also the birthplace of the corn dog, which here is referred to as the cozy dog by locals. Cozy dog. And that's in Springfield, Illinois.
Springfield,
Illinois.
Hey, isn't that the place where they the Simpsons cartoon takes place? Springfield.
I don't know.
I have no idea, man.
Yeah,
You live in that cartoon world.
yeah, man.
Been on that.
The Simpsons, man, they predict the future, man. They knew everything that happened in 2020. They knew it before it
They
happened.
just
bro.
predicted it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you have kids, our next top listening city has been in our radar at one time or another. This city is famous for Disney World and Universal Studios and annually attracts over 60 million visitors every year. It is a home to over 100 lakes. Lake Eola in the downtown area is actually a giant sinkhole, and it's 80 feet at its deepest point, known as the City Beautiful. Its name has an Italian roots and means famous throughout the land. This is going for Orlando, Florida.
Man, that's super interesting. Have you been there, Manano?
Yes, sir.
Any other
Yeah.
water body types that you can talk about in this city?
Yeah,
Besides the
there are
lakes
a
and
bunch
stuff
of there are a bunch of beach.
Oh, okay.
It's a beautiful beach, beautiful
Okay.
long beach.
Okay. Okay.
So if
That's
you
very
go
good.
plural,
That's
I was trying to figure out how he got Orlando, Florida, and there wasn't a single beach in there. So
yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Chav
Well,
was just
that's
being
compassion.
nice.
Yeah,
last week,
he gave me so many beach
Yeah.
last podcast.
oh, you're getting well. The last podcast we were talking about Vail, and it's still
Okay, this top listening city is part of the Providence, Rhode Island area and sits on the Narragansett Bay. Within this city is Quonset Point, location of the former Naval Air Station there, known for the invention of the Quonset hut. This is also the proud home of the Atlantic Seabees, the Naval Mobile Construction Battalion, and this is in North Kingston, Rhode Island.
So, do you guys know what a Quonset hut is?
No.
If you've ever seen, I was actually, as a baby, my dad was in the Marines and we lived in a Quonset hut. And the Quonset hut is those buildings that look kind of like a half trash can in the ground.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, kind of like the domes they have in the movies where they have settlements in the other planets and stuff like that.
I guess. I can't
Yeah.
the planet. But yeah, it's like, it's like a giant 55-gallon drum, but huge and only half of it down. That's a Quonset hut. So everybody, we will continue next week with part 8 of our ElkBros preseason guide series, It'll be elk scouting focus, goals, and realities. And then the following week will be part 9. We'll give you a look at the gear and setups of the ElkBros crew, how we roll. But for tonight, we have not been able to get to our ElkBros mailbox. These things have been stacking up, and there's so many cool questions here that tonight our goal is we're going to just answer these questions and do this for you guys, okay? And we'll get right back on it next week. So y'all, let's go to the mailbox. Let's dig down deep and let's answer some questions. Chav, you're up first.
Okay, this is from Tim from Canada and Drew Sire from Birmingham, Alabama. They both had questions about trying to locate elk at night, or as Drew called it, bugle prospecting. Number one, how do you see? Do you use headlamps, red light, green light, or just the white light? And the second part.
Let's deal with that one, and then we'll go to the number 2. And I think it's Drew Sayer, because Drew's he's been sending some stuff from, and we got some more questions from Drew. But when we got this, him and Tim had basically, it was amazing. These guys were asking the same question basically, and so. When we go out, do we worry about red light, green light, or anything like that? Well,
I think we have used the red light and green light in the past, but pretty much we use our headlamps. And where we walk, there's a lot of volcanic rock and it's pretty rough terrain. So I bought the brightest light you can possibly buy, and I just carry it in my hand, and I flash it. I carry it like this so I can see where I'm walking, down and in front of me. And whenever we do stop to bugle, and we all turn our lights off.
Yep.
So I don't know if that answered that question, but we don't worry a whole lot about it. Of course you don't want to have your headlamp on and just look all over the place. You're sure to attract something.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's our rule, is once we stop, we turn everything off. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if you guys are like this, but when lights are out, it just seems like you hear better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it gives you that feeling for sure. I know what you mean. It obviously is not the case, but it just feels like it.
Yeah, it just seems like,
Because everybody kind of goes quiet because you stop moving. Without light, you can't see. You stop moving, everything goes quiet.
Yeah.
And can't concentrate on anything else except hearing something.
Yeah,
right.
The sound. But I wanted to give a special story about the red light, man, because Chav and I we used to try the whole red light thing, figuring animals don't see it. And what we figured out is we don't see as well in it either. So
Yeah, exactly.
and before GPSs, well, actually, it was during GPSs. And one thing that I always liked to do was I would get my GPS. I would get setting like we're always out after dark, right, Chav? We stay till dark, and so we could be a mile, we could be 2 miles, we could be 3 miles from camp. And a lot of times, I would go ahead and put the setting on my compass that my GPS instead of wearing out the battery on the GPS. And so I'm looking at my compass, and of course, you know how the compass has one part of it that the needle, it has a light on it, one side that's like white and the other side's not. And so I look at it and I set it to north, and we start following, and we're going and we're going. And Jeff, after a while, he's like, Joe, I think we should be going the other direction. I'm like, no, dude, man, I'm following the compass. It tells me north is this direction. Look. And we kept going and going. Chav's like,
Oh, man.
and you guys know, like, Chav is like majorly insistent. You hear him like interrupting us all the time, right? You know? We stop and Chav goes, Joe, I really think we're going the wrong way. I'm like, oh, look at the
You
white.
know how he likes to go in circles.
Look at north, it's pointing in this direction. And then I turned off my red light and turned on my white light, and come to find out that the red light turned the white.
The red into white.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, it turned red into white, and we were actually going the opposite direction.
Yeah.
It was a long walk.
We had a long walk.
You know, the only thing I was upset about is why Chav didn't speak up sooner.
He would.
Yeah.
He
Not
would.
like not like he had already told you about 3 times.
I got a little turned around.
I get a little comment there with the red light and the green light, and this is not regarding elk hunting, but you know, probably need a nugget there for pig hunting. We love pig hunting at night, and one of the things that we've noticed that either the red light or the green light, I don't think the animals in general see them. I think what they see, and Manano, you know, it's the shadow that it generates. So it seems like depending on how bright that light is that you're shining at them and how much of a shadow it creates, that shadow just kind of freaks them out. They see their own shadow and they know something's up. So it's not the actual color of the light, is actually the shadow that it generates. And so that's something that kind of we found out and it's super interesting. But yeah, we use green and red light to approach setups and leaf setups for when we're pig hunting.
And I don't. I use white. So
Yeah.
Logan and I walked in there 25 yards away from about 40 pigs. And when he killed his South Texas Slam, he shot that pig with a white light on him. And the week before, we walked in on some pigs in the hole and turned the big bright light on them. I mean, that light Logan's got, dang, it's a lot of candle power. And when he lit them up, they didn't even budge. I mean,
Yeah,
he hit all of them and they didn't even budge. And I was like, all right, man.
Especially when there's a big group of them and they're distracted, chasing each other and eating and fighting for the food. That's usually the case. But if you get like a big boar coming in by themselves, that big shadow will scare them. And so the best thing to do is actually shine the light all the way up in the sky and just slowly bring that aura of that light just slowly into the target until you actually have them center in it. And so
and Joe and I, when we've done night bugling before, you know, we either walk out of camp and do it and generally can see where we're going, or we, you know, ride the bike a little ways and, you know, then get out and let things calm down. And so we're not real far away from our vehicle or from where we
some nights also has good moonlight as well, which helps, you know, with what you just said.
The moonlit nights are the best. The only thing you got to be careful of is those shadows and stuff that when you get in the trees, and you got to be careful of getting stuck in the eye by a branch or something like that.
Yeah, good idea to wear your PPE when you out moving around in the dark.
You know, the thing I was going to tell you about the green light, red light, though, Luis, is I don't know if you've ever had one shined at you, but it's like the light is green until it shines directly in your eyes, and it's definitely brighter in the middle. It's like a difference. So I don't know if when you point something at an animal, if that wouldn't alert them or not, because it's definitely something a little bit different than the rest of the beam. So, and the second part of the question, I think we pretty much answered, Chav, wasn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, because read the second.
Yeah, we did that.
Yeah, we did. We do turn our lights off when we start sending out our location calls.
Yeah, so I think that pretty much covered. I think people are real interested about when we go out night bugling. They're wondering, and you guys got to remember, when we go out night bugling, it's not like we're on this bare mountain walking around. We're generally in trees, you know, or up on a ridge that's tree covered, or we're on a road with trees on the sides. So it's real hard anyway for something to see you unless it's pretty doggone close. And we're going to be hearing sounds from down in the bottoms. We're not going to well, not always, but a lot of times on that. Okay.
All right, next up, and coming from a guy who really knows how to recognize a true leader, Mr. Scott Baker from Parker, Colorado. And Scott is asking, could you explain how the thermals work in the morning, midday, and afternoon? Also, how a breeze can affect them as well.
And I think that's one of the things that people don't understand, that people understand wind, but they have a difficulty understanding thermal.
I am one. I still struggle with the concept. I mean,
so cold air falls as the heat rises, right? So if you take a package of dry ice and put it on a table and watch that stuff come off, when that cold air hits, it'll go straight to the floor. And that's exactly the way the thermals are represented in the morning, is that you got everything that's, heat, warm air rises and that cold air falls. So the thermals will be going down, you know what I'm saying, early in the morning and coming up as the day warms up. It will shift and move everything up the mountain as the day warms.
It's just like, like you said, like a hot air balloon. As the air starts to warm up, it's going to start to rise. The only thing I like to tell people, though, is it's kind of like I talk about the rut. I say the rut isn't a regional occurrence.
Right.
It can happen wherever there's a hot cow. There's the rut and the a rut, right? Well, it's the same thing with thermals, in that if you think about it, the way the sun comes up, one side of a canyon on the southern exposure is going to have its thermals start going up sooner than over on the north side. It's going to stay cooler on the north side longer, so where those thermals are actually falling, but while they're going up in another area. Or there could be an area that's treed, that's not getting as much sun, versus an open area with rocks, and as those rocks get sun, I mean, you can feel it. Here's the thing about being out west, y'all. That's so different from back east, is I can be at home in South Carolina, and if it is 80 degrees and it's hot, it's just friggin' hot. It's like being in Wichita Falls. You can't get away from it.
Sauna.
You can go where you can't get away from it. But in the West, it could be 80 degrees in the sunlight, and you could go into the shade of the tree, 60. And it could be 15 degrees cooler.
Yep.
Right?
100%. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Let's say you have a cool creek going through an area that's got trees in it. You could have sides going up on a ridge on both sides of that creek. One side, if it's sun hit, is going to start moving up that hill. And
as soon as it warms up,
if it's not, is going to hold steady. But in that creek area that's cool, it's going to keep falling down.
Yeah.
That creek. So go ahead, Luis.
One of the things that the reason why I get confused with that a little bit is because I guess I'm trying to associate the directions of the thermals based on the time of day. And I think that approach can lead you wrong depending on temperatures.
Absolutely.
True.
Yes.
For sure.
So what's
Cold air
happening?
falls all the time.
Yeah, but so what happens is like I'm thinking, well, in the morning the sun is rising and thus the thermals should be going up. But that's not necessarily true if the
No.
air is actually not warming up enough for that to happen.
That's right.
Or in the morning, you know, the air may be actually heating up super quick, and then actually you got thermals moving up. Which happens a lot for us here where we hunt. When we get up really early in the morning and we get up on that tree stand, at first light, we see thermals. We feel the thermals rising right away. And so that's why normally, like you said, okay, normally one would associate thermals going down in the morning and starting to go up as the day progresses, but may not be the case because it depends on how quickly it warms. So I guess not associating it with the time of the day probably helps, just to kind of associate it more with actual temperature.
So you can
in my mind.
You can really see it when we're tree stand hunting in the morning.
Yes.
It right at daylight, the temperature gets the coldest, and it's because that cold air is falling from above you, and it just sits right on top of you, and it's cold, and you can actually blow your breath out and watch it fall. I mean, it'll go down instead of blow up into the air, right?
See, for me,
That's when you know.
I normally see it the other way around. And when it's not too cold, and as soon as the sun starts coming, like when I sit on our tree stand, I right away, as soon as I see, there's enough light for me to see the actual enough my breath. It's usually going up right early in the morning. So I'm thinking it just warms up quicker.
Generally, that's because of a lot of times because of, like Joe, in this other part of the question, it's about wind too. You'll have a prevailing wind in the morning, and that'll carry that up or down as well. But as soon as that sun makes a crack, it's making a difference in the thermals.
Yeah. Right? And to your point, Beto, not only wind, but also I think what's surrounding, are you inside of a canopy? Are you out in the open field? I mean, that may have some effect to it. I'm not sure. What do you think, Joe? Is that a true fact that what I just...
Out in the field where it's flat and it gets the sun, you can actually see...
Oh, there you go. Gotcha.
Your eyes
heats up quicker.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well,
sunlight.
In the morning times in the mountains, the higher elevation, the colder it is. So that air is falling the whole time in the mornings, right? And as soon as that air starts warming up, it starts making a shift.
Got it.
See, and it'll start rising as the sun comes up and warms everything up. Before you get to 10 o'clock, you got the thermals headed back up the mountain, and that's why the elk want to go that way, because they can go up there in bed, and then the thermals are carrying that scent to them, so they're protected in that way.
That's exactly right. They like being in an area. And I don't want to say bottoms, because sometimes elk will come from the side of a mesa and go up on top. But generally, when they do that and they go up on top, there's nothing around the sides. It's all about survival and defense, right?
Safety for them,
area where they can see. They're probably utilizing the wind before they go in any place. But they are using the thermals and the wind the best they can, and they are masters at it because that's what they do. Now, when you talked about wind, the thing that I try to tell people is, when you think about a thermal, if we just took a plain thermal like Gilbert was talking about, if I'm up on a hill and I have an elk directly below me, right? If I have an elk directly below me and you can actually, on a mountain in the evening, you can feel the cool air coming down the hill. You can actually feel it, man.
Falls on you.
But as it's going, if there is a breeze, as it's going down and that breeze is coming from my left side going to my right, then it's going to bend that thermal.
It will.
So if something is directly down below me and I've got thermals falling and that breeze is coming from my left to my right, it is going to bend that thermal. It's going to take my scent to the right because that heavy air is falling, but it's being bent.
That's super interesting, Joe. As you're explaining that, I'm imagining somebody playing pool on a pool table.
Yeah.
And then you have two balls going going to clash against each other, and they just kind of both deflect and go in that direction. So the forces encounter each other, and then they get deflected to the prevalent one, I guess.
Yeah, well,
It bends it,
The
just like
path
you
of
said.
least resistance.
it's both airs. So what I
Yeah.
do is not only pay attention to the thermals. Thermals are huge to pay attention to, but you can also beat thermals. And a good example is if, like I said, it can be if it's going up on the south side, you have an elk up there on the ridge. Well, shoot, you could stay over on that north side a little bit and go around and get around to it so that you can then get on the same level. Or you could actually, if there's a creek going through the middle, you could get down in the coolness of the river because
it's rolling down.
it's going to roll down, man. And you could actually
Ease
go
up on him from the bottom.
position, right? Even though once you get out on the flats or up there on the side where the sun's hitting, those are rising up. So there's different situations. If you have snow on the ground on the north side,
man.
it's going to keep those going down.
Mhm.
It's just think about what
Cold
is
air falls.
warming the air, what is warming the air. An area to a southern exposure is going to warm and rise faster than an area on a northern exposure. Okay, so
That's
that's
right.
something for you to remember.
That was a great question.
Yep.
So it's a really good question. In midday, so when you take a look at it, in the morning, generally it should be rising, okay? But elk start to go up while they still have thermals in their favor before they actually make that switch. So they're really good at feeling that barometric pressure, feeling that coldness, knowing how long they can stay down, and they'll make their move going up, and they'll be in position by the time those thermals start to change and come up to them. So now they're in defensive position. And they start doing the same thing in the afternoon, man.
Yeah.
They're going to come down with the thermals in their nose, knowing that by the time they get down to an area that is going to shift and be coming down them to them and help them out defensively. In the midday, most of the time those thermals are coming up in the midday, right? So that and they kind of get a little steadier. You know, anytime you have changes from one to the other, you know, like it can be really, really calm in the morning. And then as things start to heat up and you got some areas heating and some areas cooling, think about what that does to the wind in the world, right? And then once it all starts to cool again, it kind of calms everything down.
Yeah, makes sense.
It makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, excellent question.
Okay.
Got
We have another question from Mr. Ed Norris from Louisville, Kentucky. He said, what are your thoughts, opinion, experience with using elk decoys? In particular, the fold up or umbrella type for backcountry backpacking hunts, similar to Montana or killer gear. Do you typically use a cow or bull? And full side view or types looking ahead or rump type? What are your typical setups? So in this group, there is someone that tried to pop up one of those pop-up decoys in front of the big old bull. So do you remember that, Joe?
Yeah.
Joe was at front, and then he goes like, freeze. and that person, I don't want to say a name, was behind Joe. and he was on his knee. Well, it was Beto.
You said you weren't going to say his name.
Yeah.
Appreciate that, Manano.
There you go, Beto. So you know how to make the introduction next time.
Well, he killed me several times. He killed with that introduction before. Well, guess what? Beto was on his knees, and then he got the backpack at front. Well, it wasn't on his back, and then he tried to pull the decoy out of the backpack.
That thing done unwinded on me
As soon
like an
as
8-day clock.
As soon as he tried, the pop-up decoy went like boom. The elk jumped.
And thing popped up like a freaking auto tent, man. Just
Like whack-a-mole. Like a
6 feet
whack-a-mole.
high.
Boom.
Yeah, I think the decoys are a really good resource and then a really good tools, but you have to be careful when you open it up.
Yeah. So
If
and let's break this down a little bit, man. Let's
it's
say
a lot to the question.
using elk decoys, and we'll tell you, Ed.
I think they're awesome.
We've used different kinds. We've used the Montanas that are the side view,
Dolly.
and I've used multiple different ones, but my favorite one to use is the Ultimate Predator.
Yeah.
And the reason I like the Ultimate Predator is it actually mounts on the front of your bow with a shoot-through window, and it gives you control as a shooter of that decoy. Last year, Gilbert and I mean, we had spooked a group of elk and still were able to use that decoy and walk up and get them to come back to us.
Yeah.
So
yeah. They couldn't, we boogered them, and then they saw that thing and they were like, oh my God, man, that's a cow over there. We're going to go find her out. And then of course, we were painting the picture. We were doing really good, painting the picture with the cow calling and stuff like that. And, it was amazing the response that we got. That, and then I called a bull back 7 times for Brendan this year, and he had it on his bow. And that bull, every time he came back, he was focused, on that, which freaked Brendan out because he couldn't draw because the bull was looking at him. But at the end of the day, I said, look, man, this is what we want. I mean, that bull sees that decoy and he comes back every time. And but what I will tell you guys is
how many trees do you think died in the process?
If you have not shot with your decoy on your bow, please make sure before you go afield. Please make sure before you go afield to shoot with it on your bow.
This is the kind of advice that you would see in the academy, is like Chav's words of wisdom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you right now, man, my partner, I did a great job of calling these bulls back after we boogered them. And my partner here, that's the best elk calling coach in the world, he will have to agree. We got him to roll back in there within, I don't know, 25 or 30 yards. I mean, it's slam dunk, right? And Joe draws back and just slams an aspen. Bang! It's like 30 feet to the right of that bull. And I'm like, I looked at Joe and I'm like, what in the world, bro?
You're not embellishing at all, right? Huh?
What?
30 feet to the right.
It's 10 yards to the right. I mean, the bull's at least 10 yards long. I mean, golly. I'm like, I looked at, I thought maybe Chav had shot or somebody shot before we shot. I'm like, what is going on here? I look at him and, man, dude, he never said a word, just reached up there like Cool Hand Luke, son, got him another arrow, and we call them back. These goobers come rolling back, and let me tell you something. You don't give Joe a second shot. We all know how that is. He done figured that little window out, and he ventilated that something. And we watched him fall within sight. It was a glorious day for all to be.
Yeah.
The thing I want to tell you about decoy.
We'd have never been able to do that had they not been fixated on that decoy, huh, Joe?
Oh, no, not at all, man. In fact, I think what happened really, too, was is when the elk first came in, they came into 20 yards. And again, because I had not practiced with it, broke my own rules. When I went to draw back, I drew back, and the decoy actually, as in the drawing motion, came up really quick.
Yeah.
And it boogered them, and it started to run, and I cow called, and then they stopped at 30 yards.
Yeah.
And at 30 yards, the bull was stopped so that his kill was open. His head was like behind an aspen there. So the aspen was about 12, 13 inches to the left, and not 10 feet. and I drew back. Looking down the other way, I shot my arrow to the left because when you see two images,
Oh yeah,
I hadn't seen it in the window, and I'm looking at the wrong image, so my arrow was actually shooting left. And when it did, like, I was as surprised as anybody. I turned around, and I could see Chav and Gilbert looking at me like,
what? Yeah, I was like, man, did that tree just jump up? We had a tree monkey jump up and catch the arrow, man. That was crazy.
So Joe, so you think Beto's exaggerating with the distances there?
No doubt. Joe's telling it right. Joe's telling. I'm thinking he shot to the right, but now I'm remembering he did. He shot a little further to the left.
Yeah,
but yeah,
you're so nice.
Hey, let me tell you something though. From the kill zone to where Joe shot is a dadgum good 8 feet. Okay, it wasn't no 10, 12 inches.
So in a way, you're both right.
oh, man. Well,
dude, I'm gonna tell you right now. Not only were the bulls like surprised that, man, one of us didn't die because we're stupid, but both me and Chav almost fell over. We were like, you could have knocked us over with a feather. I'm like, what in the world was that? But I'm telling you, bro, I hunt with the baddest man on the planet. He just got him another bullet and loaded. And we made a few little here, come back here now. Look at this decoy.
And sealed a deal.
They were goobers, man. They just kept rolling back up in there and then boom, turned broadside. Joe sent it, boy. I mean,
so
what was crazy?
Go ahead.
What was crazy about the whole situation was that Decoy really calmed him down, because even after Joe got the second shot and killed it, and it fell just 40 yards in front of us.
Yeah.
Another elk just stayed there the whole time and was actually, I thought Gilbert might get a shot at it. It stayed around 50, 60 yards just feeding, and he was relaxed, and that was kind of a weird situation. I don't know if he saw his buddy die. Probably not.
Been
but
hard not to.
Yeah, he hung around. The cow call and the decoy kind of did a job.
Yeah,
really.
I like Chav said. I think it calms them down. They see, and then Brendan and Joe have added this little ear flicker with that thing too. And man, we called those bulls. That's the second time that's happened to me and Joe. And this year, when we were just kind of out scouting, we run up into a group of bulls, and neither one, he and I'm running a camera, he's running a decoy, and he's like, go ahead and take the shot. I'm like, bro, I'm running the camera. Ain't none of us ready to shoot. And he's like, I've been holding this decoy for 20 minutes, man. There's no way I'm dragging this bow back. So, but those bulls had left, and we called them back again, but it was the decoy that did it. There's no doubt 2 years ago when I killed my bull, that bull come rolling uphill and seen that decoy. And that was Katie bar the door. He knew there was a cow up there, and he was coming where their hair lipped the governor. And that's exactly what happened. He rolled up that hill, fixated on that decoy that was over there, and it was over, man.
I want to tell you though, some things about decoys is that, look, your decoy is only as good as its accessibility. In other words, if your decoy is hard to pack and hard to carry, you're not going to use it because it takes too much time. So we like to use a decoy that can utilize that's quick. The Montana, we've used the Montana with the stakes where it sticks in the ground, but
in a static setting.
Yeah, it has to be a static setup, man.
Yeah.
You're going to be using that's got a blind or something like that where you put them in. Otherwise, if you're being dynamic or if you're on the move, it's got to be something that, hey, in this situation, if I need it, boom, I've got it. So you can do that with a Montana, the side ones, the butt ones, whichever you want to use. Now, here's the thing I'll tell you about those. So the theory is when an elk sees a butt decoy, that bull elk like to come around and look in the eyes. So they say that when you have a butt decoy, that they will try to circle to the side and give you a broadside shot because they're going to try to come around and look at the cow from the front. I've never experienced that. I've only heard this from other guys that I've talked to. Now, I do know for a fact, though, that a lot of times when you do use a decoy, a lot of times it seems like all you're going to have is a frontal. Okay. Well, if you're patient on that, a bull is going to turn to come around and check you. He is going to do it, man. Or if you even booger, if you draw and booger him, I tell everybody this all the time. Elk have a fatal flaw. They always stop broadside to look back, man. They don't stop facing away. They're not going to stop facing you. They're going to stop broadside, and they're going to turn and look so that if it's danger, they're going to check it, and then they're going to take off. So you're going to get an opportunity. Now,
You got to draw, though. You got to draw. And it doesn't matter if the bull boogers. You got to draw. Because once you get drawn and he stops, then it's case sirrah, boy. I mean, you can get it done. But you never draw. You just going to watch him run out there and go, oh, man. He just ran out there and stopped again. Well, yeah, I mean, you're standing there, with your bow in your hand and not doing your job. Draw the bow.
I'm telling you, if you booger an animal, draw. Give it a cow call. It's going to stop. It's going to give you a shot. It's going to be quick, but it's going to be plenty of it as far as time to get that out there. And where we like to, when we put our decoy together, we like to stick it between our back and our backpack. That way it rides in there. If we ever need it, we just go and pull it out and we have it right away. And when you talk about the different kinds, so the Montana, we've used the side one, and now if we use the full side, it's generally in a partner setup, because as a solo guy, it's impossible for me to use that and to get a shot. Okay. So, but what I like to do is if I have it set up with a partner, I don't pop, and this is where Gilbert's, when he popped that thing out and the whole thing showed up to that bull, it was like, where the heck did that come from? He took off.
Exactly. It freaked him out.
I just like to show a part of that animal, like movement, give it a little bit of movement from coming out from behind a tree or something like that. And that is about all you need. They see that, and then they see that part of the animal, and here they come. Now, he talks about killer gear, guys, and I actually have a killer gear turkey decoy. I haven't used the new killer gear elk decoy, but basically it is a umbrella system that umbrellas out and pops out, and the head is up above, and you can kind of straighten the ears out. But the cool thing about it is it's very big, almost like a blind, and you can actually set that out so that if you are solo, it stakes and it stays in position. And what I mean by stake is on the handle of the umbrella, there's a little pin that comes out, and you can actually stick it in the ground.
Push it down.
Keep that right there. So now you're free to draw behind that as a solo, or you can use it. It's fairly lightweight. It's a little bit more cumbersome to carry because it's a long deal, and you have to kind of strap it to your pack. Now, that means if you're going to use it, you got to take your pack off, undo clips, and get it out. Whereas what I love about the Ultimate Predator, man, is that I become the elk. I have an arrow through. It covers your draw. On turkeys, it covers your draw. I have a buddy of mine that just shows me a video of him with a tom turkey in front using the Ultimate Predator turkey decoy on the front with a shoot through window. He draws and shoots that bird, and that bird never knows he even draws. It's unbelievable, man. It's just super. And the good thing is, when we boogered those elk that time, Chav, how soon do you think I had a decoy on my bow?
Oh, you put it up pretty quick because they were
15 seconds.
They were on us
seconds.
pretty quick.
Yeah.
And the whole thing with that, going back to that same scenario, Gilbert and I were in the wide open. We were just kneeling down, and there was no cover at all.
Right.
And they never even looked at us.
Yeah, they just looked at the decoy, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And you were able to reload real quick.
Yeah,
Still without,
So we like a cow. You can use a side view, but with the Ultimate, we prefer the front view. And a typical setup, if you're doing an actual static setup, then that's going to depend. It's going to be a person up front, and then the person calling in the back can show a decoy to pull them back, because we did that with a buddy of ours also one time. We had Larry Gill set up, and I pulled a bull just like Gilbert, just like what we did with you, except for I actually had the bull in my hands. And, you know, once that bull came out and saw it, and I'm up on the side of the hill, Larry's down in front, he's off to the side, that bull comes and walks by him at 12 yards, just looking at that decoy up there. So I think it's great. You know, so that's a typical setup is a situation in a partner where you're going to have your partner go between you and the bull and a little bit to the downwind side. And then you up on the top, you're going to be able to show that decoy as that bull comes out and looks, because he's going to look because he wants a visual. As he looks, you're showing that decoy, and it doesn't have to be the full decoy. It can be part of it, and you can even give a little bit of movement. And we have found out if you ever do any kind of ear twitch on that, really sells it. It really sells it.
It sure does.
Yeah. Next question is from Drew Sayre. Gilbert, I think you got him.
Yeah, absolutely. Drew Sayre from Birmingham, Alabama says, my second question is about near to far locating, realizing that topography, time of the day, and other factors can affect this. How far do you think a cow call with and without a bugle tube typically carries? In other words, if you get a response from a soft cow call, are you more likely to find a good setup right there, or are you still cutting the distance? Side note is I have some hearing loss, and that makes it hard to gauge the direction and distance of the sound. Looking into hearing aids and other devices, by the way, he says, but I had some bugle responses to cow calls last year while hunting solo and struggled with the decision on whether to go in the direction I thought the call came from versus setting up right there in that spot. So it's a good question.
I think our number one is how far do the sounds carry in relation to when you get a response, what should you do with that accordingly? So yeah. Anybody else stab at this first?
Sure. I mean, for me, if you can hear a bull and, you know, you've made a really light sound with your call, like a real soft, he's close. You know, he heard that, and, you know, you're probably, I think, for me, I think, you know, a real light cow sound, they can hear it a couple hundred yards away. You know, and depending on the wind and the trees and stuff like that, where you're at. But for me, if you get a response from a bull, generally they're within 400 yards of you. And then it's about cutting the distance down. And, you know, whether you know how far he is or not, unless he's screaming in your face, you know, I'm moving, I'm cutting the distance down, you know. But that's just me. We're aggressive. Joe and I both are super aggressive at getting in the middle of them. And if they, you know, trying to keep them talking, trying to keep them coming. So yeah, if I'm softly cow calling and I get one to roll up, he's probably pretty close, but I'm still going to try to make a move in the middle of him. Now, if he's insistently making more and more bugles and you know he's getting closer, well, might as well get your setup ready because he's fixing to get in your lap.
Chav, what about you?
Yeah, I think, you know, like Gilbert mentioned, you know, if you make a pretty soft cow call and you get a reply, you know, they got to be pretty darn close. You know, they're not on the other side of a ridge. You know, they're on that same ridge you're on, and probably within a couple of 100 yards. You know, they have better ears than we do, obviously. So, you know, they can hear a little bit longer distance. So they may be a little bit further away than you think, but still pretty close. You know, you have to really think about the situation as a whole.
Yeah, and if it's super windy and you get one to blow up, he's right on you.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, because and that's a good point, because early morning when it's good and cold and still, and I call into features. I like to call into bowls and stuff like that. You can hear a bull, they can hear you quite a ways off, man. And it could still be a half mile off in that situation early morning. But one thing I'll tell you is that, to me, if I give a soft cow call and a bull sounds off and I think he's within 200 yards, to me, the setup, having a quality setup with shooting lanes is sometimes more important than just getting on them. So if I'm in a situation where I don't have a good setup and I need to move closer to do that, I will. If I'm moving closer and I give another cow call and he's either staying or moving closer, man, I'm looking for shooting lanes. I'm looking around for the best situation. I'm looking around at topography, because if I'm in a situation where that bull is off and he's kind of coming up on something where he's going to come up and, before he can see anything, he's going to be in my shooting. Well, I want to be there instead of getting to the edge of that and making a sound where he can be at the bottom looking up and going, well, I should see you. So you got to kind of take in all of the situation. If it's a thick area, like Gilbert's talking about, like we hunt in sometimes, shoot, we'll get up. Me and Chav have got up on animals that they're like on the other side of scrub oak from us, man. They're not 40 yards away, and we're still making a move on them, trying to pick shooting lanes and then call them by us. So we've actually been real aggressive in that situation. You have to consider those factors. Yeah, consider your terrain, consider the time of day so that you know how close. Because when you say that you have a hard time hearing, so do I. So here's my gauge. If I hear them well, they're close, and I'm looking for a setup. Now, if I'm with Manano and Luis, because you can ask those guys, man. So when we hear a call, I'm looking at you guys immediately, and what are you doing for me?
Telling you how far.
We tell you direction and distance.
And then start arguing with Luis because he was like 300 yards. He was like a mile away.
Sometimes
that only means I have better hearing than you.
I can tell you all this too. When you hunt with Joe Giglia and it's that part of the day that's just about over with, and you've been that 12 miles and you hear that bugle a mile away, hell no, I ain't heard no bugle. Hell no. We're like, you hear a bugle? I ain't heard nothing. What you know, up that ridge 10 times, Joe. We're going to let him stay the night. We'll come back to him tomorrow.
Then I turn around and I ask him this kind of points this way, and Manano kind of points this way. I just go in the middle.
Go in the middle. Split the gap. No, that's a great question. I mean, for me, just can't get aggressive enough, man. When you're calling and stuff like that, I mean, a lot of times these bulls will have cows and they'll kind of hang up on you, So, once the cows start getting a little nervous and stuff like that, they'll kind of shut up because they don't want to call another bull in, So you need to kind of cut your distance, especially if they get quiet on you.
You got to read the type of bull you have, man.
Yeah.
So sometimes you're going to have to put the Mohican sneaking on them, man.
Definitely.
Just shut up and let them, kind of listen for those noises that they have and get in.
But I think to his point, if he's talking about, okay, so if I'm hearing a cow, if you're hearing a cow, they're close. And at that point, if you can't see them, I would just try to set up at that point and then kind of understand where they are. Because if you're hearing a cow, chances are there are more close by and you just can't see them yet, right? So you don't want to blow something up.
Grinders tuning in, thank you for listening to the Blue Collar Elk Hunting Podcast. Our goal is to share our knowledge and help you flatten that learning curve so that you too can have some of the very same incredible experiences that have given all of us here at ElkBros a lifetime of memories. If you like what you hear or see, you can get all of this information plus so much more from our Base Camp Elk Hunting Training Camp, the first in a series of online courses from our Blue Collar Elk Academy. Our Base Camp Training Camp allows me to use my coaching style and share almost 40 years of elk hunting experiences successfully hunting elk on public lands, as well as over 20 years guiding hunters of all ages and experience levels. This course will be like nothing you have ever experienced in concept and structure, using success-based coaching techniques that will elevate your confidence and skill sets. Our camp will prepare you specifically from that final moment most in your control, those final minutes or seconds the elk is in front of you. backwards through each step and level, allowing you to see, visualize, understand, and relate every coaching point to what lies ahead, the next step, the next thought process, the next success. Because y'all, you've already been there. You know what it looks like. By tapping my 30 years of teaching and coaching experience, our camps are developed considering multiple learning modes with text, visuals, audio, as well as video. And Base Camp will benefit those new to elk hunting all the way to the 10 to 15 year vet. So if you are looking for that one thing to help you fill that tag this year, invest in the most important piece of equipment there is, you and your elk hunting knowledge. You can find the Blue Collar Elk Hunting Academy and the Base Camp Training Camp at ElkBros.com. That's ElkBros.com. Keep dreaming of the screaming, believing in achieving, and most of all, keep grinding.
So,
I'll tell you this, Drew. If I give a cow call with my mouth and I get a response that sounds fairly close,
yeah.
buddy, I'm looking for setup.
Exactly. And that's my point right there. It's just like they're close. You don't want to blow something up. You want to get yourself set up.
Go ahead and set yourself up and get him in the bucket.
If I give a cow call with my voice and I don't get a response, and then I give a cow call through my tube and I get a response at a distance, then I'm most likely going to cut that. A lot of times, sometimes though, I'll start to cut it and I'm listening while I'm doing it, trying to see if he sounds off again, or maybe give another cow call to see if he's closer or if he's farther away. And that tells me, now do I need to put it in gear to cut that? And it depends on time of day. If it's early morning and he's like going away up a hill, I know they're going to a destination. I know they're going to bed. So I got to get ready to move, man.
Sure.
If it's in the afternoon, midday, and I have one, then it's different because they're bedded and they're just kind of moseying and going to probably come into me. So you just got to read all of the different things to put it together.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep. His second part of his question, Joe says, my last question is about blowdown and deadfall. He said, do you think there's a point at which even the elk start avoiding areas due to blowdowns? He said, I was in an area last year that just looked primo on e-scouting. Difficult to access, good distance from hiking trails. It has water and meadows, dark timber, nice benches and everything. He said, but it was riddled with blowdown, and I didn't see any remotely recent elk sign in that entire area.
Well, he answered his question.
Yeah. They either there or they ain't, brother.
Yeah.
I don't think the blowdowns make them one way or the other.
No.
What wasn't there was food, because they're slaves to their bellies.
Yeah.
So.
And there's a reason that they're not there at that point in time. Yeah. And,
and that can change from one day to another, 1 week to another.
Can, because they're nomadic as heck, Louise, for sure.
Like that, man.
Yeah.
We hunted with Larry Gill, a buddy of ours, hunted, this one area where we were at, and we went everywhere for 5 days. And we didn't stay in one place when we did it. We did different areas. But
I'm sure of that.
One area at the beginning, not a track, nothing, right? Kept moving around trying to locate elk. On the last evening of the hunt, I told Larry, man, we're going to go back to the first spot we went. It went from being church mouse quiet to daggum blowing up, because it just happened that way. They came into the area, and you got to remember, elk can move 10 miles in no time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, last year, Joe, I mean, we had some sign, but nothing super strong in some areas, right? But then, we had this huge herd come through, and we didn't see the herd. Manano and I, that was the day Manano and I kind of went on our own, and you guys, went the other way. And you guys saw the herd go through. We didn't, but we were kind of behind. And then Manano and I are looking at just the sign everywhere. I mean, it was unbelievable. Manano and I was like, oh my God, what is this? It's just, they're everywhere. And then when we finally met at camp, you guys told us, we saw 300 head of elk. And we're like, what? And it's like, yeah, we saw all the signs. So in a place where, we didn't have sign before. So
it was crazy.
I think it was backward. We started to tell hey, we saw tracks and drops and so many signs
And we saw the elk.
And Joe was like, and we saw the entire herd.
And we saw the entire herd.
That's right. That's
Well,
right.
and to that fact too, it worked the opposite way. We are in all kinds of elk one day, go back to that area the next day.
Nothing.
I mean, we traveled miles, man, and we
Long way.
didn't see nothing in there.
That was crazy, right?
One more ridge over, you know. So it's just I do not think it's the deadfall, because elk will go into deadfall areas and they'll use that as defense, especially those bulls. They'll bed down in some of those places. And when I go moving through deadfall, Drew, I'm looking for elk trails that move in and out. I just don't go in and start climbing over deadfall. I like to go around the perimeter.
Not true. Not true.
And what?
We've been through the thickest,
Yeah,
hardest
me and Chav
crap
too.
you
Me
can
and Chav
ever
too.
imagine.
No.
He is just
Y'all ain't
plain out
seen it.
lying, and you shouldn't be doing this, Joe. You're laughing
Y'all
too.
ain't
That's
seen
messed
hard.
up.
Yeah.
Chav and I can take you to a deadfall forest that'll make you wish you'll go the same 1.8 miles for the next 10 miles. I'm serious. We call it the deadfall forest because I've never in my life seen so much blowed down stuff you got to step over. I was so wore out. My teeth hurt the next morning.
No,
That's how
but to
bad
your
it
point, Joe, I get what you're saying. Look, and we kind of do it similarly when we're hug hunting and spot and stalking. You kind of try to keep an eye for natural trails that they have, over the years kind of built, and usually that's kind of the path of least resistance for them. So
When you're
that's what you mean.
elk, use the elk sidewalks, man. Use the elk roads. Use the elk trails. I mean, they know them. They use them. It's the best way to get from point A to point B for them. And generally, they're going to be down at the bottom of hills. Everything's a long way. As you start getting up higher on hills, things get closer. And these animals have learned how to get from ridge to ridge without having to drop down and go back up. Now, they'll do it, especially if they're trying to get away from people, but they know how to use the tops of those ridges and move around to get places a whole lot quicker. So use those elk trails, man. I'm telling you, they're really good. But I don't think, I think I don't think it has anything to do with the deadfall, Drew. I just think it has to do with the fact that there's a reason they're not there, that they could be there 5 days from now.
Yeah.
And,
That's a good point.
Yeah, it could always be that way. So next up, I think I have the next one is.
Yes, sir.
So Tim says, Joe, just like you, I wear hearing aids. So the second one with ear issues, but my hearing is really poor without. Trust me, mine is too. But it really helps you sleep at night, bud. So we have some advantages. It's considered profound loss. So hearing elk is always on my mind. The terrain in northern BC is thick, and elevated bands are not extreme where we hunt in a broad valley. So the way I'm picturing it is, it's pretty much really, really thick and pretty much all on the same area with a little bit of rises here and there, but no real high points as
Mountainous stuff. Yeah.
The other thing, though, is when you say, so hearing elk is always on my mind, Tim, find you a hunting buddy with good ears. That helps a ton, man. Let me tell you, because I can, when elk are too, I'm an elk hunting guide, and you go, wow, man, how do these guys feel about having a guy that doesn't hear so good? Well, I do better with my hearing aids. Those help me out a ton. I also have hearing aids that kind of convert sound a little bit. So even though it doesn't sound the same as what everybody else is hearing, I'm still hearing a sound. But I'm telling you, even as a guide with my clients, I go, look, we're a team. This is going to be a team effort. If you hear an elk, you're going to point in that direction. You're going to give me a best estimation. You can go way far, and we'll start to get a gauge as we do this better. But once I get within a certain distance, and sometimes depending on the air, I'm going to hear those animals. And once I'm locked in like that, then it's over with, and things can go the way I want them. So for you, I would actually tell you you're actually better off hunting with a buddy. So that's something to think about. If you become a good caller, even with a buddy, you can end up calling for the buddy. I mean, it can be a win-win for both of you. Okay. And it says we have a slotted hunt for late September, and in the elk woods are usually quiet, usually all September, with the wolves that move in on all the elk talk. So with that said, I know elk still rut, but pressure is high, sounds are low, and visibility is lower. Do you change any ideas you normally talk about? Yes. So first of all, let me tell you, none of us have experience in wolf country. I've talked to friends that do, so I'm going to do the best I can with this. So the tough part for you and me is that unless we have a partner with good ears, it's hard to pick out an elk in an area if they're using low audible noises. And elk in thick trees with wolves, they could be making noises, but they're doing low audible noises. And what noises are those? They're using chuckles, they're using moans, they're using groans, they're using glunking, they're using pant. Okay, they're using mews. They're using those things that inside the trees, and they might even do some small bugling, but in the trees, it's going to dampen it. On a windy day, you're not going to hear anything. You can be 400 yards on the other side of a ridge with thick trees, or 200 yards over it and not hear a bugle.
Never hear it.
That's so interesting, Joe. So you're saying potentially the elk behavior as far as communication goes
100%.
may change depending on the predators that surround
absolutely.
them. Huh? That's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Man.
Absolutely. Man.
Look, the rattlesnakes in South Texas aren't rattling anymore because of the hogs and everything. I mean, they get to where, the species are going to get to where they adapt. And those elk, they know as soon as they sound off, you got a whole herd of wolves on you. I mean, it's pretty adaptive for them as their survival mechanism.
Yeah.
I mean, they ruined the elk herd in Yellowstone.
Absolutely, man. And what I'm going to tell you, Tim, is this: is if you struggle with one sense, your hearing, then you've got to make up for it with
your other three. Yeah.
Okay. Your nose, your eyes, right?
Yep.
So I adjust my tactics in a situation. I go back to hunting kind of how I started hunting. Mm-hmm. I'm going to move through areas. I'm going to be cow calling, but I'm going to be using every sense, my nose, my eyes, and my ears as much as I can. And I'm going to be hunting crosswind, man. So I'm hunting so that I'm kind of crosswind down from areas where I think elk are.
Yeah, you can smell them.
I can catch, I mean,
turn right into them.
Ask Chav, man. That's the first way we hunt them was we would smell the elk, turn into the wind, and hunt right into the wind, man. And, using different senses. All right. And when you do this, when you're just moving and cow calling, you've got to be looking for elk that are sneaking in. Look for fresh sign. If you catch a strong smell of elk, then that's a good time to set up and maybe do a scenario where you're still and animals are going to sneak in on you. Here's the benefit. Here's the benefit of it. If an elk's not going to respond verbally and loud, they're going to respond, but they're going to respond by coming in. So you're going to have to be patient. You're going to have to put on the scenarios like we just talked about in our last podcast, where you're set up and you're calling and you're having them come into you, where you can see them with your eyes and catch the movement and get an opportunity. Okay. So,
but it also gives you the chance, if the elk don't want to come in, or you can hear them going further away, then it gives you the opportunity to now potentially close in the gap, close in the distance. But if you don't set up and try to close in the distance when they're too close, chances are you're going to blow them up.
Well, what I'm saying is there's going to be times because you haven't heard elk because they're not being verbal, or you're not close enough to hear the low sounds, right? Mm-hmm. All of a sudden you get a strong smell of them, and you've worked into the wind and you're still getting that strong smell, right? Mm-hmm. Well, you could actually at that point stop, do a setup.
I got you. You're just talking out of smell, not sound.
Right. No,
gotcha.
Right. I haven't heard a thing.
Gotcha. I follow you now.
But I've moved into the wind enough to know that I didn't smell urine on the ground.
Sure.
But sometimes you can be walking and all of a sudden you smell elk. And then after you start to move towards through the wind, you don't smell them anymore. It's because they just pissed there and you've gone past it. And so you're not smelling it anymore. Well, if you continue to work into the wind and you're still catching whiffs of them, you're not far from them. And that's when, Luis, you could blow them up if you keep going.
Right.
If you don't spot them first. So sometimes you could just set up there and do a scenario and try to bring them into you, especially in an area that is like he's talking about where it's flat, because they're not going up to a particular destination per se. They might just be bedding down in that area somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And you want to be careful too with your setup when you're calling, because those wolves are honing in on that stuff. You want to keep hopefully you're hunting with a partner, but keep vigilant on watching your six, man, because those wolves are.
You don't want to become the hunted.
Those formidable critters for sure.
well, and I'll tell you this, man, when you're walking cow calling, it's a very, very freak thing to happen. But there are predators that come to cow calls, man.
Oh, yeah,
That's
man.
how Luis killed his bear. I've had friends that have had cougars come in. In grizzly country, that's a good possibility. So, you always got to watch your six. You always got to be looking and stuff like that. And if you have a partner, it's helpful on that. Okay. So, Chav, why don't you get the last? Anybody have anything to add on that one, or?
No, I think you covered it pretty well.
Cool.
Okay, this one's from Jonathan, and it's talking about partners. What do you do when you're hunting with someone that you really like personally, but they want to improve themselves or their skill sets and rely on you to always be the one to find and bring in the elk when they are not pulling their weight, when they're not pulling their weight? When we are not hunting, everything is great. When we are hunting, I'm always frustrated and developing a bad attitude.
Can I respond to that one, Joe?
Sure.
No, don't allow.
So I don't know. I don't have experience on this, so I probably am not the best person to give you advice on this situation. But I can tell you how I deal with Manano. And at the end of the day, as my wise friend Beto would say, you just gotta deal with the guy because you love him. So
Feel the fear and you do it anyway.
yeah, I mean this would be my advice. Again, it's not like I know what you're talking about, but no. The truth of the matter is that
Communicate.
I think we all have different pros and cons. I think all five of us, now all talking seriously, all five of us have different abilities and different weaknesses. And the beauty of our friendship and our team is the fact that we've come to understand each other's abilities and weaknesses, and we've learned to compensate for them. So Joe
we work on bettering those weaknesses.
yeah. So and Joe just mentioned one. It's as simple as the hearing aid, right? I mean, Joe, even with the hearing difficulties, is still an incredible predator and can take any elk, right? But he benefits from our ears, and we benefit from his knowledge and his calling and everything else, right? And so the same with Manano. Manano has got an incredible eyesight and incredible hearing in the woods and incredible woodsmanship, right? But he's learning how to call. I'm learning how to call as well. Beto is further along in that process, and Chav just understands animal behavior so good, and he's got so much wisdom.
Them, actually.
What?
Chav, talk to them.
Yeah. I mean, so I think your point is the fact that you don't see the urgency in in your partner and wanting to become better and wanting to grow as a hunter. And I could see how that would be frustrating, especially if it's affecting your hunt.
He may be intimidated. He might be a little intimidated too, you know. So you might want to humble yourself just a little bit and go have a good conversation with him about, hey man, I ain't trying to blow you up or anything, but
I talked with Jonathan about this, and those conversations have happened.
Yeah.
And that's where I think the frustration for him is coming in, is that he has been frustrated and has been developing a bad attitude, but really likes the person.
Yeah.
But it's and they've had the conversations about that, but the person continues not to pull his weight, that just keeps riding on it, and he said he's just a laid back guy, so he really doesn't care, so,
well, then he won't care if you move on and find another hunting partner.
well, okay, so I don't know, Chav, let me hear wisdom from you, man. How would you deal with that?
No, I think a lot of it goes back to what Luis is saying. Everybody's got their strong points and everybody's got their weaknesses. I think what we have been able to do ourselves is, we're one for all and all for one.
Yeah.
And, some of us got better ears, some of us don't. Some are definitely better callers, some of us aren't. Some of us are superhuman in strength, like Manano and Luis, that can
Chav, don't tell
that can
me.
just
Chav.
drag an elk over their back, But everybody finds their niche in the camp, So I would say, find a common point if you can. If you can't, then invite another partner to join your group, maybe, or
Yeah.
I don't know, really.
So, I'm gonna kind of give you a little bit different answer, and it's. I think it really depends, because, like, you take me and Chav have hunted together. We're going on 40 years, and totally two different type people. But Chav we could split up, and Chav is solid on his own. We could be together, and we're solid together, right?
Mm-hmm.
It always felt like we were on a hunt, but if at any point your hunt is turning into something that is pulling you down, hunting,
not enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not enjoying yourself,
Not
It's got to
good.
be enjoyable.
if it's then
Not good.
having that discussion, look, it's kind of like me and my hunting partner Chav, it's almost like a marriage, man. We understand each other,
100%.
our weight, and if you're in something that's dysfunctional, I don't care if it's in your regular life or your job or something like
That's
that.
very true.
Yeah, it's time to make a change. And if this is somebody you care about outside of the hunting realm, it doesn't mean that you have to change that part of it.
Yeah, the friendship doesn't have to end. It's just a partnership for hunting if it's what's not working.
Yeah, you have to take the guy and make barbecue, but don't go to the woods with that guy.
Yeah, so I mean, look, I've had friends that I've hunted with over the years that I quit hunting with because it didn't
work out
as well. And
me too.
and I'm picky, man. I'm picky about who's in my camp. You're seeing me surrounded with these guys because these are incredible human beings. All of us, like they said, each of us has our weakness, but man, there is not a single person that is surrounding me that is not passionate, that is selfless. They're all selfless. They're all incredible hard workers. They live for the moment. We live for the camaraderie. We've taken it to a whole different level. If you find that, man, it's like it's golden. And it's hard to get in this circle. It's hard to get in this circle because expectations are up here.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, I've brought a few guys into the circle, a la Luis and Manano, and I've brought a few other guys in the circle too. I mean, Brendan's breached that our circle too, and he's a fantastic guy, another selfless guy. I mean, we've had the mad Canadian Steve Tucker in our midst. I mean, another really good dude. But to get in our circle, you got to be of that ilk. You've got to be of that passion and not wait for anybody else to do something. Look, I'm not as good a cook as Manano or Luis, but I promise you, when them boys have been out all day, when they come back and they've either knocked something down or they haven't, we got lunch ready for them.
Yeah.
We got a burrito made. Yeah. We got some chili made. We got a burrito made for them. Or, when they have knocked down something, we make burritos and bring it to them. I mean, we're going to take care of our brothers,
Oh, yeah.
And Jonathan, if this guy, I mean, you can like him all you want, man. Love him. I mean, he could be your brother, but it just ain't working out for you guys hunting together, and that don't make him a bad fella. And it don't make you a bad fella. It just means that y'all aren't super compatible with the level of where y'all want to be at hunting. And like Joe said, might be a good time for you to find you another hunting partner to invite into camp and, put old boy on notice and say, hey, man, look, we've had these discussions and I love you, man. But, this is how the cow eats the cabbage. Some of those discussions, you better be prepared to lose a friend, though. It's just the way it is. I mean, the guy wants to hold it against you, he can, but chances are, if y'all got a good enough relationship, he can understand where you're coming from.
Sometimes if you find, another person that you feel that's going to contribute to camp and meet the levels of your expectations, bring him over as the third wheel, and sometimes that. That helps the other person realize, that, hey, now it's not just the guy that I have that confidence with and I'm okay where I'm at and I'm comfortable where I'm at. Now you got another person in there pulling their weight as well, and that might trigger something that, may make him kind of be at the same level as well.
Yeah,
so.
Manano and Luis came into elk camp. Manano's first year, Manano did not have a elk tag. Nope. Manano came in tagless and just wanted to hang out. And it wasn't 45 minutes into him being in camp, Joe goes, we're inviting him back. I'm like, hell yeah, boy. Absolutely. No, you'll know, man. When guys are right when they're not, Jonathan. It sounds like to me, you just need a little push from a big O. I'm gonna tell you, put the boot in his ass. Go find you somebody else. Go find you somebody else you like to hunt with, son. I'm not trying to be insensitive, brother. I'm trying to make light of the situation.
Hey, who knows, man? Maybe
like
his
Joe
friend
said,
is also
like
going to be
marriage.
better off with another hunting partner as well, with not such high expectations.
One thing is, Chav and I have always been on the same page. He knows what I'm thinking. I know what he's thinking. Even though we're different in our capabilities, we're on the same page.
Yeah.
And if your hunting relationship is making you angry, it's hurting your regular relationship, then something's wrong, man. And that means y'all aren't really enjoying each other's company. And I tell you what, one thing that we love is just being up there in the hills together because we so enjoy each other's company.
Yeah, man, I was actually, sad when I couldn't get to hunt with all of you guys, So I was super thrilled this year when we all got to go out together, man. That was kind of the highlight of my hunt.
Well, and with us, our camp has evolved. I mean, over the last 5-6 years, we're doing a lot more video stuff now. I mean, we're getting a little more technical. Hollywood's kind of entered the camp
some
a
of
little
us,
bit.
some of us are getting more technical.
Hollywood's kind of entered the camp. I mean, we have a few different things that we, that we're eyeballing now and stuff like that. And look, it's just evolved, and really hadn't sat down and discussed it. We just all were like, yeah, man, that sounds awesome. Let's go knock it out of the park. And so Elk Bros, spun out of something that was really small about 12 years ago. And then it just started growing and growing and growing. And here we are today. bringing you this podcast and talking about our passion for hunting, but it's a passion for one another. Because, man, I know if these guys need anything, if I'm tagged out, man, I'm coming. Put the strap on. I'm gonna give you one good go. I promise you, you're gonna get one good deal out of me. I might not be able to go back, but I'm gonna give you all I got on that first one. And we'll take 2 quarters and head out. Or they know that, man, if they need me to come call or whatever it may be, I'm there, man. And I'm with you, Luis. I want to be in the middle of it. And so, again, that drives me physically to be able to keep up. And because last thing I want to do is hold somebody back.
Jonathan, I can tell you one thing. I don't do buttholes, man. If people are selfish and they're just regular, I don't surround myself with negativity. I surround myself with positive people that are going to make me better. And that's what I'm doing right now. So,
Well, yeah, my father told me once, you have to be in the wood with someone that is willing to fight the death for you.
Dang, Skippy.
yeah. Because
because
You're
it's,
dang right.
yeah, I mean, you're alone. And if you are,
There's a whole lot more stuff out there that can eat you that you can't eat. I promise you.
absolutely. And then if you find yourself with a butthole, with a
I'll
You
end
gotta-
it off tonight with a story then, man. I'll end it with a story about how much my brother Chav loves me, man, because we're horn hunting and we're going through this area. We're looking and I look out ahead of me, man, and I see this bear. And this bear's at the bottom of this tree, right? And Chav, see that bear? And Chav's got a camera and everything, so he likes to take shots. So let's stalk this bear. And so we're out there about 80 yards, and we start moving into about 60 like that. And that bear's still around the bottom of the tree. And I look back and Chav and said, let's get closer. And so we start going up a little bit closer. We're at about 40 yards, man. And I turn around and look at Chav, and Chav's like looking around like this. And
Yeah.
I was looking around like this, man. I was like, come on, man, let's get closer, man. So I start stalking up like that. I'm in about 18 yards to this bear. And all of a sudden, this bear goes, he sits on his butt at the bottom of that tree, and he goes, oh, 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 oh. And then this dude, in like seconds, jumps straight up in the air, turns around against this giant pine tree and grabs a branch about 12 foot up in the air and just starts, man. And I'm like, Chav, did you see?
That was gone, man. My kind of guy.
He's like, dude, I don't have to run faster than the bear. I just got to run faster than you, man.
No doubt, man. Similar story. Me and the late Carl Gamage up on the Red Road 1. We're easing up. Got a bull screaming in our face, man. And I mean, it is going berserk. We think we got him coming. We make this little bend right here, and we're going to try to set up. And all of a sudden, I hear. I'm like, what is that? I turn and look up, and it is a giant mama sow bear, and she has run these cubs up the side of this tree, man. Ooh. And she is up there chomping her jaws, pop, 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 like that. And those cubs are up there just kind of looking down at us. There was 3 of them, man. They're kind of looking down at us, and Carl goes, "Oh, man," he didn't say, "Oh, man." He actually said, "Oh, shit." I mean, he's like, he goes, "Don't move." I'm like, man, dude, I want to run. The bear is literally 15, 18 feet above me, He goes, "Man, whatever you do, don't run." I said, "What are we going to do?" He goes, "We're just going to back out of here real easy." I said, "What about the bull?" He goes, "Damn the bull. Let's go." He said, "We'll find another bull. This is this bear's country, man." So we had to back on out of there, man, and ease out of there. That bear was not happy, Jack. I'm talking not happy, So yeah. I've been with Chav when we've had a bear situation too, and he showed me how to run one of them off that was a lot bigger than us, you know. So yeah, you got to be willing to have guys that'll fight to the death with you, man. And there is not one of these guys that I wouldn't go to the wall with. I promise you.
Have you thought I could take that bear? That's why you took off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Had the camera ready.
Chad was just looking for help.
Yeah, what Joe didn't tell you was that bear jumped about. The bear could have dunked a basketball. He jumped straight up and grabbed that first one. It was amazing.
They are amazing creatures. And I know what Joe's saying, because Joe got me in within 15 yards of one time, and he had his butt to us and he was feeding on some stuff in front of us. And Joe just kind of stuck his head up over our eyes, and he turned around and he looked at me and he goes, "Come here." And I came up there, and I mean, it's like this big, fat, black blob sitting 15 yards in front of us. And he goes, "That's a big bear." I'm like, he goes, "You don't have a bear tag, do you?" I'm like, "Oh my God, no. I don't even want to look at this bear, dude. Let's just throw it away." Like, Joe has this fascination with these bears, man. He wants to go up and get close to them. I'm like, dude, these things are, I know people say they're like big raccoons, but they're not, man. They got big chompers and they like to eat meat.
Muscles.
Jonathan, we wish you the best with that, man. It's a tough situation, but if you go by your heart and what you're feeling in your gut, man, and we hope that works out. Gilbert, let's close this out, man.
Absolutely, guys. If you like what we're doing, please subscribe, rate, and review. You got to go to Apple Podcast or iTunes to review us, and you can check out more elk hunting content at ElkBros.com. And just a reminder to our listeners, if you would like your questions answered on our show, just send your questions to info@elkbros.com. That's info@elkbros.com. Loved all the questions today, Joe. Plenty of topics coming up. Our preseason stuff that's going to be hitting the pavement next week's going to be epic. Y'all are not going to want to miss that stuff. It's awesome to have the Venezuelan Mafia in the house. Your elk hunting coaches did a fantastic job. You guys keep sending us those questions and emails, and we love hearing from you, and we're blessed to have you guys. And like we say down here in Texas, husbands, kiss your wives. Wives, kiss your husbands. Hug your babies, keep your broadheads sharp and your powder dry. And we'll see you next week right here on Blue Collar Elk Hunting.
Peace, and don't kiss your broadheads.
Yeah.